And the other side of you is what I personally was so drawn to, because yes, you were sweet, and yes, you were very professional, and you know, you're good at what you do. But when I saw that other side, I was like, oh my God, like, you're a powerhouse.
Welcome to the Sheroic Podcast.
This is where you discover what it takes to create success,
Happiness.
and the best version of you.
All right, guys, welcome to the Sheroic Podcast. Yay!
Welcome.
And I am so excited that I get to co-host this podcast with my very close friend, Lisa Bilyeu.
Thank you, Cassey Ho.
We've been waiting to do this for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, we've been kind of talking about it for about a year. That's a whole story that we'll get to.
Yes.
But yeah, it's finally kind of coming together, and today's our day.
Today is our very first day. We're in a room that I haven't really used yet on camera. So this is the podcast studio that we built when we were building out the Blogilates headquarters.
Right.
And I go in here to do like my voiceovers for videos and stuff, but the dream was always to have a podcast, but I never did it because I never felt like I had the right person to do it with. And then we were talking over mushrooms.
Yeah.
Meaning Lisa and I love mushrooms.
At a restaurant that serves steak. Let's just be clear
Yes.
on what you mean by
Yes,
mushrooms.
but we love these mushrooms. And we're talking about, wanting to do a podcast about women empowerment and business and, this whole other side of me and you that people don't get to see. And then I texted Lisa one day and I was like, hey, Lisa, do you want to do a podcast with me? And like, I was actually really nervous. I thought you might turn me down.
That's so cute. The funny thing is, and we never really had spoken, because initially it was like, okay, well, if you do a podcast, I'll be a guest on your show. And
Right.
if I do a podcast, you're going to be my first guest.
Totally.
So over those, I think it was a few weeks from when we went to dinner eating those mushrooms.
Yeah.
And then you texted me. And it was like one of those moments like, oh my God, I was thinking the same thing.
Oh my God. We're so totally on the same wavelength.
Yeah. So I actually want to backtrack a bit
Okay.
for people who don't know our dynamic, and just give them a little bit of a backstory on how we first met, and because I think that will really make sense to then how we got here today.
Totally.
So I guess I'll kick it off.
You kick it off.
So I'm one of the co-founding team members of Quest Nutrition. So if anyone's eaten a Quest bar before, yep, that's me and my husband and his business partners. And so that was about 6 years ago now that we started that company. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And we were making the bars with rolling pins and knives, and we were, we rented a kitchen and literally we were making bars by hand.
Wait, I remember now. I think Nick, who was your CMO called me, and I picked up the phone, which I normally don't. And then I think we really hit it off on the phone, and he was talking something about the show you guys wanted to do, the Cooking Clean with Quest.
Yeah.
And then we did a test shoot, I remember now, at someone's house.
Yes,
and then
Kay Osborne.
Yes.
Yeah, so one of the guys that owns Quest,
Right.
it was his house.
Okay, and then shortly after that, you guys liked the pilot so much that we actually signed on to do like a season of Cooking Clean with Quest, and that's when I met you, right?
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly. So you guys had already shot the pilot that I wasn't involved in.
Right. Yeah.
And then, so I remember Nick saying, oh my God, there's this incredible person. You've got to see her. Look at her content. She's amazing. And she likes our product. And that was a big thing for Quest. And that's kind of how we built the company is, finding people that genuinely like your product. Because you can sense immediately when someone's fake, right?
Oh, yeah.
So you already ate Quest bars. I think
did.
You posted about them and stuff.
I did,
And we didn't even ask you to.
I think I was actually in Venice Beach, and I think it was like a one of those bikini contest thingies, and I was just like muscle mania type things. And then there was a Quest booth, and I was like, what's this? And I took a sample and I liked it. So that was like how I found out about Quest.
That's cool.
Yeah, on the beach.
Yeah. Well, so you must have posted about it, because I think that's
something
how
like
Nick found out.
I definitely knew about Quest, so the timing timing was kind of perfect when Nick reached out.
But I want to just reiterate, Quest was small when you first
Super
came,
small.
like we started getting involved.
And then once we started working together, and not because of me, but because of you guys, like your company just grew like crazy. It's like the fastest growing nutrition bar company in history, right?
So, well, it's the second. It was the second fastest growing company in 2014 in the United States, and I kind of love that we were second because it keeps you hungry.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like you don't think too highly of yourself, which is actually very good. I think, we've spoken about always staying humble. So it was the second fastest growing company, but let's not diminish your involvement. Like you for sure, and that was a big thing for us. Like we were a small company, we were a protein bar, we were using social media, and you were interested. And I remember when you were coming in, it was like a massive buzz in the company.
Really?
Massive buzz. So for people who are listening, I was running our media department, and there was like two of us. It was me and Ben Spink, and he was the director, the editor, everything. You came in, and the entire company was like freaking out, like, oh my god, Cassey Ho's coming in. I was really nervous, like, to meet you, and I think I still have the first photo that we took together.
Really? Oh my gosh!
And this is where I think that mine and your relationship really, like, at least for me, became real. So we met each other. I knew you on YouTube and social media, and you had a massive following. And you came in, and I had a certain expectation of what you would be like. Right? And I think everybody does. So I actually thought, oh, you're going to be super sweet. But you're huge YouTube star. So I had expected some like fussiness and some diva-esque type of, but I did, right? Like, and that's bad on me. Like, I totally bucketed you as...
No, but those people exist.
Yeah, and
I've met them.
And I think that's probably why, right? Like, stereotypical. Like, you were huge, and Quest was, like, very small. So you come in, and I meet you, and we started talking. And then we ended up shooting the season, so Cook and Clean with Quest the season. And by the end of it, I was like, I want to get to know this girl, right? Not because of fame or anything like that. That never really interested in me, but like... You were so incredibly sweet. So not one diva note around.
I can't even do that. Like sometimes I feel like because I'm so nice, people end up taking advantage of me. And I've had these conversations before about trying to be a diva so that people would treat me better. But then I'm like, that's just way too much work to be someone that I'm not. So if people aren't, respecting who I am as myself, then I should just not be around these people.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's interesting though that you're saying that people take advantage, right? Because people think, oh, you're so sweet that...
Or they just treat you as a lesser human being. Like I was on this shoot for a really popular magazine. I'm not even sure if we can say whatever magazine it was. Anyway, we had the hairstylist and the makeup artist and everyone. They were doing my hair. I guess they didn't know who I was, which I don't care if you know who I am. Treat me like a human being. Didn't even want to talk to me. I was asking them like, oh, how's your day going? How long have you been doing hair? Like basically didn't want to talk to me. And then the editor comes over and is like, oh, Cassey, we're so excited that you're here for the shoot and your book and da-da-da. Then all of a sudden you see these people who were like totally ignoring me, lighten up, ask to take a selfie. And I'm just like, this is disgusting. Like, judging me by how many followers I have or how famous I am or whatever is like judging someone by how much money they have. It's disgusting.
But can I be honest? Like, have you ever thought about why people act like that? Like, if you go deep down and you think, okay, why do people like all of a sudden pay attention when someone famous walks in the room, someone rich walks in the room?
Well, they want something.
They want something, but I also think it's that opportunity for them to feel special. Right? Because here you are, Cassey Ho has, 3 million followers on YouTube alone. I'm probably even like getting your numbers wrong.
Oh, no, whatever.
It's probably, I'll probably minimize your numbers. Sorry about that.
Just 3.6.
Yeah,
just
there you go. Right? But like you've got this massive fan base, and look, I don't think everyone's like this, but I think sometimes it's like you talking to that one person, or like that one fan, right? We've gone out many times and so many fans come up to you and they just start crying because you're like, oh, hey, do you want to take a photo? Like they legitimately melt down. And I think it's because you make them feel so special. Now, look, I think other people are, money grubbers and fame grubbers and all of that. But I think there are certain people out there that really just like you make them feel special because you're willing to talk to them. And it's sad and it actually breaks my heart a little. But I don't know.
Yeah, I think sometimes people just Have you ever played the Kim Kardashian mobile app game?
I have not.
Okay. So in that game, basically, to level up, you have to date celebrities so that you go from like an F list to like a D list celebrity, whatever. So I feel like taking these selfies with certain people, being associated with certain, it's all a game to get you on top, which I think is so silly because my life is not about fame or I just feel like that's so volatile. Like, do what you're passionate about and do a good job and treat people nice along the way. And I can see right through it when you're trying to like take something from someone else. I don't know. I just feel like the whole thing is bleh.
Well, what do you do though? Because you are in a position, and this was my expectation, right? I thought, okay, she's going to come in, she's going to be a bit of a diva, like make sure that no matter what, that you're just focused on the end result, right? You're doing the show, you want the show to be amazing. So even if she comes in and she's a diva, just deal with it. You had every opportunity to do that, right? What is it that you tell yourself? Like, don't do that.
It's just who I am. I don't have to tell myself anything. It'd be more like I'd have to tell myself, hey, Cassey, like, you know, act a little bit more like you need your hair done a certain way and you need your water and fruits to come. Like, that makes me feel weird. I don't do that. I just treat everyone like they're my friend. Like, that's how I live.
So I've got an awesome story based on that.
Okay.
You're all tense now, by the way.
I don't know what story this is.
So we were shooting an episode.
Okay.
It was winter time, and you remember the set. It's in the middle of a warehouse.
So cold. I get so cold.
The poor girl was freezing. And I had no idea, right? Because like I'm running around, dealing with the crew, dealing with this, dealing with that, and I'm always cold as well. But I wasn't cold. But you're standing there, right? Take after take after take. You've got this cute little skirt on, and you don't say a word. Like every time I ask you, do you want water? Do you want anything? You're like, no, I'm good. And then I go up to Sam. So I go up to Sam, who knows you very well, and I said like, Cassey just keeps telling me she's okay. Now, I'm Greek. So part of the Greek in me wants to feed you, wants to give you water, wants to, like you cannot leave here unsatisfied. And I was like, she keeps saying no. Like, Sam, is she okay? Like, does she need anything? And he's like, well, he like kind of takes a bit of a pause and he's like, she may be a little cold. And even the way he said it was in the sweetest, kindest way ever. And I was like, oh my God, well, of course. So, like, I run and get a heater.
I know, you got a portable heater. That was so good.
And I put it by your legs. And as I'm putting it by your legs, I see, like, your legs are all goosebumps.
Oh, totally. Goosebumps all day long, all the time. That was so sweet of you.
But you had the opportunity to say, like, I'm cold. Like, even that I wouldn't actually think is being a diva, right? That's actually not. It's just saying, hey, I'm uncomfortable. So what stops you from going... Like, yeah,
I guess maybe it's the way I was brought up. Like, I just don't want to be an inconvenience to somebody.
Is that what you taught as a kid? Like, is it?
I think for the way I was brought up, and I think the Asian culture in general is very non-confrontational. Not that saying you need a heater is confrontational at all, but if I can avoid any type of confrontation and if I could just deal with it, I'll just deal with it. So it's fine. But yeah, I do get cold really easily. So thank you for that heater.
Oh, bless you. So that was what, 2-3 years
Something
ago?
like that. Yeah. But
so that's how our friendship, I think...
I think so. And then I forget who asked who to hang out, but we ended up having so much fun and going to talk for hours, just hours, and we could never stop. And not just about like girly random things, like we go deep. And I'm expecting on the Sheroic podcast to go deep, get in there. And Lisa, you always challenged me to think harder about the reasoning behind my actions, because we talk a lot about emotional stuff too, business stuff, things that I really can't talk to anyone else about, because you and I are both business leaders, and even though I don't get to show that part of myself, we really connect on that. And also, you're a great person. So I feel like that's why I really like you.
But that's a big deal, right? And that's why when I first came to your studio, and I'm sure people listening have seen a lot of your content, like you've built this yourself, you've built this empire. And when I first walked in, now Quest Nutrition is, after 6 years, I ran our media department. So when we first started, like I said, it was just me, Ben, and, we started the show. And, flash forward 3 years later, like there's, 20 people in the media department. We were huge as a content creators. And so when I came to your studio and seeing what you had built all on your own, like I was part of a team, but you've built this, like it was mind blowing. And so having seen you as your content, it doesn't reflect this other side of you. And the other side of you is what I personally was so drawn to, because yes, you were sweet, and yes, you were very professional, and you're good at what you do. But when I saw that other side, I was like, oh my God, like you're a powerhouse, and people don't see that, right? People don't get in, which for security reasons don't get invited inside your house.
Yeah, right.
But they came. Sorry, so you invited me and I came in and you had your own kitchen set, your studio, and then you showed me this podcast room. This one that you see right now.
This one right here. No one's really been in here.
It was mind-blowing. And when we walked in, I was like, oh, you doing a podcast? And you're like, I don't know.
Maybe one day.
And it was just like that for me, where I was like, you are a visionary, right? You started YouTube before YouTube's anyone knew
2009.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You started in 2009. That's how you grew so big. Like you're thinking ahead. You built a podcast studio. You didn't even know if you were going to do a podcast show. But you built it because you knew people are doing that. That's something I can probably tap into, and maybe one day I'll do it. But you still built it, right? And I was like, wow, here's a woman who she has her content, but behind the scenes, you are an incredible businesswoman.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And so are you. I mean, there's so much that goes on behind the scenes that I don't share with the popster community for many reasons. And a lot of it, not sure if people would be interested in it.
I was going to say, this is the place to be honest, right?
Yeah, no.
So what are the reasons why you think that popsters either don't see this side of you or wouldn't want to see this side of you?
I mean, I think there's going to be a section of popsters that will really appreciate the entrepreneurship and the business side and the more serious side of Cassey, because you see me on camera, I'm like, hey guys, super bubbly. And like, that's totally me. That's not fake at all. That's how I am. When I get super excited, I'll clap and jump and all that kind of stuff.
She really does, by the way.
Yeah, totally. But
she was clapping over mushrooms at a steakhouse.
Oh my God, love mushrooms. I love mushrooms so much. But when it gets down to business, there's a serious Cassey that comes on. And I think that if people saw that, it's almost like seeing a different person. But when I'm not on camera, that's me. Yeah. Like I'm running this business that it's not just the Blogilates you see on YouTube. It's like the clothing line, Pop Flex. We got Pit 20, we got Pop Pilates at gyms. Like it's a lot of stuff. And obviously I'm not able to do it by myself. So then over the past couple of years, I've had to learn how to manage people. And I know that that's something that I've been going to you a lot, Lisa, for help with, because I used to think like, oh, managers, they just like make sure everyone's on task. But it's like not even about that. It's about keeping employees inspired and making sure that we're all on the same page and getting things done on the same deadlines. And it's not just like homework. People can't just turn stuff in. Everything has to be A+ work because it goes out to the community. People are going to see it. And like, it's about getting everyone on board and finding those right team members. And I remember the first time I went to visit Quest, I was so impressed by your company culture. I said, one day I want to have a company just like yours, because they were all like friends, but friends who inspired and motivated each other. And that's why I've been slow to grow my team. I mean, we're small, but we're mighty. We get a lot of stuff done. But every person that is inducted into the Bloggy fam, that's what we call it,
I love that.
has to add more inspiration. You're not just a pair of hands doing work. That's not what it's about. It's about growing that family. So, I mean, I've always have respected what you've done. Your husband, your entire team have done so much. And I'm just so glad that we have a friendship outside of the business stuff too, and that we can support each other.
Yeah. It's definitely difficult, right? Because you have a way of seeing things, a way of doing things. And, when you're inviting someone pretty much into your house, right? Because you spend so many hours at work or working, that the second you invite someone in, it really is in your like close circle.
For sure. And then when you're a small company, one person adds a lot of personality positively or negatively to your business. So like when I'm hiring, I'm like, I don't know, I was just talking because we've been interviewing this week too for a bunch of new positions. And for those of you listening, you might have even applied for one of these positions.
If you haven't, apply now.
Yep, apply now. But it's like, I don't know. I wish there were a better way for the hiring process because, you know, you interview people and I feel like you're going on like one blind date and then you have to kind of commit to marriage. Right. It's scary. And then I won't have to think about divorce. Like I've already dealt with firing people. I hate it so much. I want, you know, the next person to join our team to be someone that's going to be here for the long haul because you want to invest in someone, make sure they're happy, they're growing, but then your company's growing too. I know. I feel like it's one of these things that I'm just like, I'm learning right now, and you just have to go through it to get it.
And that's really why I think we wanted to do the podcast, right? Because we're exploring, like every time we go out for dinner, every time we meet up, we explore situations. So you have a problem, I have a problem. Yeah. We get each other's advice. And look, it's not like we have the answers, right? It's we fall, we mess up, we get back up, we figure out what went wrong, and we keep going. And we just said, like, I think the amount of lessons that we're learning along the way could benefit people, right? It could benefit younger women who right now, like a lot of your fan base, are younger females, and they look up to you and they look at, you know, the content Quest is doing, and people go, oh my God, some people may say, oh my God, I want to do that, or I want to be that. Or the problem is that it's not easy.
No.
Right? And what people see within you, they see your content, they see Quest Nutrition content, and they just think it's easy. But the truth is, behind all of that are people figuring their way to success, figuring their way around it. And so I think like the amount of value we can bring in at least our experiences, and then also using the listeners as our help for us.
For sure.
To learn and grow and do better. So we're just like, man, this is a win-win situation.
I think it's going to be really fun. And we get to hang out more because here's the other thing. Lisa and I are so busy. I mean, I don't even like using that word because I feel like people overuse the term busy, but like for real. Yeah. Like we don't even have time to sleep busy. Yeah. So we hardly ever get together unless it's to eat mushrooms. Wait, and to be clear, these are mushrooms in butter. They're not other types of mushrooms. These are eating mushrooms at a steakhouse called Boa in Beverly Hills. Anyway, so we had to start something epic to hang out more, and I'm so glad that we're doing it. We're so funny.
Start a podcast so we can hang out.
Oh my God, I'm like crying now. This is so funny.
But the whole mushroom thing, and I'm sure people out there are listening, right, or who are listening have gone through it. Like sometimes there's just those things that you bond over with other people, with your friends, with your partner, with your work colleagues, that brings you together, right? And so for us, it's Michael Jackson.
Oh my gosh, yes!
Right?
Oh my God, yes!
That was honestly, that was probably the moment I realized that like
we were soul sisters.
Yeah.
Yes. And for those of you who are listening who may not know, my love for Michael Jackson started when I was 16, and I needed a talent to do for the Miss Teen Chinatown pageant in 2003. And I decided that I would impersonate Michael Jackson and teach myself how to moonwalk. And that is when I started listening to all of his records. How about you, Lisa? I know you have.
Well, the questions people want to know: do you have a video of you moonwalking?
I probably do, but I don't want to show it.
All right. The mission today, people who are listening or watching, is let's get the video of Cassey moonwalking. Oh my gosh.
I full on had the fedora, the sparkly white socks, and also the glove. Obviously, I had the glove, and I did my routine to beat it. Yeah. I don't know if I was any good, but I ended up winning the pageant. I have the crown. It could have
been too bad if you won.
Right.
That's amazing.
Okay, but Lisa, your background with Michael Jackson is very interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely a long one.
Yeah.
I mean, I think to cut it short, it's a lot of the young girls in my school or people I knew, all the popular kids, so I wasn't popular at all.
Oh, me neither. I was so not popular.
Okay, so that's another thing we've definitely got to dive into.
Yeah, we definitely will.
But I had the frizzy hair, the braces, the elastic bands, the head brace. I mean, it was all bad.
I mean, I grew up chubby, so same thing.
And it's just not easy, right? Yeah. It's people make fun of you, people judge you, people put you in a bucket. And so there wasn't many guys coming around asking me on dates. Let's just be honest.
Okay.
So me and my friend, like, while everybody else was going out and they were going to parties and they were going clubbing, they were trying to meet boys. And, you know, to be honest, they were doing drugs behind the, you know, school shed or whatever. Me and my friend, we just found joy in music and we found joy in Michael Jackson specifically. I can't tell you what made us choose Michael Jackson, but I think it was like almost the fan base had genuine, it's like a community, right? And anyone out there, like whether it's a religious community or having something in common, like they love Quest bars or they watch your content, right? There's something to feeling a part of something. And so we ended up and we went to a Michael Jackson concert and we found out what hotel he was staying in. And we went to his hotel and like it was so, and when I say we went to his hotel, like just standing outside with 100, 200 people at 3 a.m.
Wow.
And you're standing outside and you're singing Michael Jackson songs and then Michael Jackson comes out onto the balcony and he waves and then a cab drove up and delivers literally like 100 bags of French fries from McDonald's.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah.
Aww.
And then literally the cab driver comes, and this is in England, as you can tell with the accent.
Love Lisa's accent. Can't get over it.
Literally a cab driver pulls up with a massive tray of just French fries.
Aww.
And after that, it was, I think, the feeling of being in a community, because coming from somewhere where I'd got picked on for my hair and my braces and my unibrow and all of that, no one cared about that. And it was a community that just accepted me for me. And that to me was, I think, what made me really like hold on to Michael Jackson and then have such good feelings going forward. The music was the driving force for the community. So I think it's that was very powerful. So when we started talking about Michael Jackson, I was like, whoa, hang on a minute. You like Michael Jackson too? And you're like, are you joking? I love him.
And like, not even that I listened to his music. Like, I was obsessed with him. I dressed up as Michael Jackson also for Halloween. Like, I was obsessed with him.
So what do you think it was? Like, would you say it's the same as me with Community, or was it a feeling that his music gave you? What was that thing that you really...
I don't think it was the community. Well, it wasn't the community, because the time that I got into him actually was when... it's very interesting because it was a 2020 episode. Martin Bashir did this horrendous interview with Michael Jackson, making him seem like, you know, a child molester and all this stuff. And you know what, whatever goes on in his personal life, I have no idea. Right. I do know that he is an amazing performer and artist. And so even past all that negative stuff, I was like, who is this person? He seems interesting. So after that episode, I started to look up Michael Jackson, watched all his videos. I bought the CDs and I just fell in love with it. So I liked him after his peak. So there wasn't a community for me.
Yeah, that's true.
So for me, it really was that he was, I mean, the way that he moves, it's like I've never seen a human move like that before. So I was enchanted by his personality, the way he performed, the way he danced, the way he sang, and the lyrics and everything. So it was kind of more like a relationship between me and him as a performer. And because I had to teach myself how to do things like moonwalk and sidewalk, like I was watching his videos so much that, I don't know, it was kind of like, I'm not sure even how to say it, but I was entranced by him. So I think it was really different in that sense. I wasn't part of a community.
One thing you just said just now that really was actually really powerful for me, and I don't know if people picked up on it, is you had no judgment, right? Because immediately the first thing that some people, when we say we love Michael Jackson, first thing people are going to say, but how could you? He's a child molester, right? People are going to judge immediately. And that was just really powerful what you said, because you're like, look, it wasn't about who he was as a person. I don't know that. I can't say either way, right? You don't know if he did or didn't know anything. But you bonded with the music. And so with his talent, you were into that. And so you didn't judge or allow the judgment of what people are saying about him to affect you and his talent. And like kind of brings me around to like, obviously you're in the public eye a lot. I'm a lot more behind the scenes. So, you know, I don't get it hard. I don't even pay attention. I don't even post on social media, honestly.
You need to do that more.
I know.
You're going to do it more now because you have a podcast.
Yeah. But you put yourself out there. And because you put yourself out there, obviously you get judged a lot.
All the time.
And when you tell me, like, what people say, it is, to me, crazy.
It's crazy because the things people say, like, you're so fat, or you're not fit enough to be a fitness instructor, or if my job was fitness, I would, take more care of myself and actually try to lose some weight and just stuff like that. It's like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, I'm not here to be a fitness model. Like, I'm here to be an instructor, a teacher, an inspirer, and how I look doesn't determine how I teach and motivate other people. But the thing is, not a single human being has ever come up to me in real life and they've never said that to me. So it's like you have to consider the source that's coming from. It's someone behind a keyboard saying whatever the heck they want because maybe it makes them feel better or whatever.
That's what I was going to say. Like, let's really talk about that, right? Because there's so many people out there that do it. Right, I sometimes find myself judging people. So, oh my God, that's a terrible top. Or look at her pants.
I mean, everyone does that.
Everybody does it.
Yeah.
So, in things like that, it seems somewhat harmless, right? It's I'm not saying it to their face. I'm not going up to someone saying, "Oh God, your pants look terrible."
Right. Yeah.
But I might be thinking it. But in that negative thought, like I really try to now stop myself from doing that because it's a negative thought regardless of whether it's hurting someone or not.
For sure.
So take it to someone who does it to you online. I think that doing it online is much more secure, safe for them, right? But yeah, why do you think they actually do it? And how do we start stopping it? Because the big thing for us, right, in doing this podcast that we have spoken about endlessly is how do we help the young girls out there that are listening, or even guys, right? How do we help people through our own experiences and through at least what we've failed on and learned from? How do we help people either be better people, achieve whether it's starting their own business, be a better wife, whatever it may be. How do we do that? And it really is a big key for us, I think, in talking about it, right? So in talking about it, like, what do you really think is going on in that person? So you've got some girl who's sitting at her keyboard watching your videos. Your videos are harmless. Right? Like, you
can do them or not.
Right.
Leave me be.
Right. So what is it that you think makes that one person want to do it? Because I think we need to try and start stopping that.
Yeah, many different things. I think some of them may be young and ignorant in the sense that they've seen certain photos of quote unquote fit girls and how they should quote look on Tumblr and Instagram, and then they're confused as to why a person with a more normal body could be teaching and talking and doing all this stuff, but at the same time doesn't have a six-pack and a bodacious bubble butt or whatever. So they're confused. Or they are a troll and they want attention. So they're going to say the meanest thing ever so that other fans will come up and try to defend me. It just becomes like online drama. I think some people crave that because maybe they don't get attention in their daily lives or something. But the thing is, I think what I want to teach on this podcast is that we are one person. We have this one life to live, and we have an amount of energy that we can put out into the world. So choose whether you want to put positive energy into the world or negative energy. And the thing is, once you put negative energy, I'm sorry, but you can't do that amazing thing that you wanted to do because you're tired, bringing someone else down. Yes. So find your potential. And I want to be able to help the people listening to our podcast work towards their dream. And I've been told throughout my life, you can't do this. You'll never be successful doing this and all this kind of stuff. Just don't listen to that. Listen to the people around you who can help boost you up to do what you're meant to be doing. And it's going to take a lot of trial and error. And yes, you're going to fail, but that's a part of the learning. And I think I really want to teach people to just try, take the risk, because
and you want to teach people because you've been through it yourself.
I've been through it. And you know what? Whatever, you fall down, just pick yourself back up and try again. I mean, people are so afraid to fail that they end up living in a tiny little box of safety. But I feel like sometimes that's the most unsafe, most unhappiest thing you could ever do because you never get to explore. And I think that's the fun of life, because this one life, you can do whatever you want. And the only person holding you back really is yourself. So, yeah. That was a really long answer to that question about the trolls.
No, that was amazing though. And that's what we talk about a lot, right? Is that people, it's easy to sit behind a computer and say bad things about people, right? It's easy for, because you're invisible, no one knows who is saying it, but there's an act in doing that makes them feel a certain way.
They feel bigger because they want to drag someone else down.
Right.
But I've heard a quote before that if someone's trying to drag you down, they're already beneath you. So it's just like, you always have to consider the source. Where is this coming from? And in the beginning, it did really affect me.
Yeah.
But then I was like, whatever. I'm still doing a great thing and I'm not hurting people. So whatever is bothering you, you can literally just unsubscribe and not see me anymore. But like, just get off my case. Like, what does the way that I look have anything to do with you? I'm still teaching people a lot of different things. So anyway, that's...
you hit the nail on the head, right? The thing is it doesn't have anything to... Like, I actually don't think there's a big connection between the person and you, right? I think that their judgment is based on how they're feeling themselves, right? And you're saying they're trying to bring them down. And I don't think in all cases people are trying to bring other people down to spite that person, right? I don't think people are doing it to spite you. I think they're doing it, and you even said this, to make themselves feel better.
To feel powerful.
But clearly, if they're trying to feel powerful by bringing someone else down, something's going on within them.
For sure.
And I try to see that in that person, right? So it's like if someone's being mean, if someone's being cruel, it's clearly because they're going through something. And the one thing I really want to try and do with this podcast is how do we get those people, the people that right now who want to hate, but I think they want to hate to make themselves feel better. How do we help those people change their view to make them a positive person and to make them then spread that positivity?
Exactly.
Because like you said, you're almost a definition of the 5 people that you surround yourself with. So if you're negative, you're going to surround yourself with 5 other people that are negative. They're going to sit in a room and
complain and judge and all that kind of stuff.
Right. So the first step into changing that massive, undertaking is what we're trying to do, right?
Yes.
Like to attack that, I think you have to start with each individual person. And each individual person has to recognize when they're being that person that's trying to tear someone else down. Once they make that switch, then I think they can maybe then make the switch of the people they hang around with.
Yep.
Or, I'm speaking out, like I'm literally processing now.
Yeah.
Or do you think that they need to actually stop hanging out with those people first? Because it's kind of like poison. Unless you get rid of it, how do you heal yourself? I don't know. Well, yeah, what do you think? Like, I literally was processing out loud, so sorry, bear with me, people.
No, I love it. A lot of times, sometimes the negativity around you is also your family. So it is hard to, and if you're young, to remove yourself from your family because they feed you, they house you, and that sort of thing.
You're saying when you're like living under
when you're living under someone else's roof or something like that. Because I do get a lot of these comments because I'm like, oh, well, just delete the negative people out of your life. Then I'll get comments saying like, well, what if those negative people are my parents? So it's a very real situation. Yeah. So yes, it would be the best thing to do to get rid of the people around you, but then if you can't do that, you have to start within. You have to be stronger within, and you have to put the walls up where you don't want to hear their negativity and don't let them affect you in that way. But I think it's both. I think if you can internally work on becoming more positive and also surrounding yourself with more positivity, it's just going to be like osmosis. It will just balance itself out in that way. But I think negative people they want attention to begin with, but then they're also trying to fill some type of void. And like I said earlier, everyone has a background. You just have to understand it. And I just wish everyone would try to think that way too before they say something. But then again, no one's ever said any of this to my face, so it means a lot less.
What would you do then if someone did say that to your face? Like that would be hard.
Yeah. Well, when I was a kid, there was this, and so I grew up pretty chubby. Sometimes I'll So my boyfriend, Sam, he's also my manager. He will walk around sometimes and be like, oh, you see that girl over there? Like, I used to be chubby like her. And he'd be like, no way. Because like I look so much different now. But there was a time when I was was the fattest girl in class.
Okay.
I had a double chin, not attractive. And my mom wouldn't even let me shave my legs. So I was hairy and fat. Okay.
Wow.
So I went to this family party and this little girl like literally pointed at me and said, why are you so fat? And like, and I was probably like, I don't know, 8 or something.
And you clearly remember it.
Oh, it like, I full on like tears. I was like, and up to that point, like, yeah, maybe I was like the chubbiest one in class, but I didn't really care. I was like focused on drawing, doing well in school, reading, writing, that kind of stuff. And all of a sudden at that dinner table, I was like, oh my gosh, there's something wrong with me. And I feel like ever since that moment, I've always been so conscious of my body weight. And so going on YouTube, I thought my first mean comment was going to be, oh, her form's so bad. I'm a Pilates instructor and I can't believe she didn't point her toes a certain way. I've gotten 0 of that pretty much until this day. But all these comments about my body, it's like been happening my entire life. It's just like never good enough. But you know what? I have to think about, I'm running this business with so many different facets. Like if I wanted to get so lean, like I did one time in 2012 when I was doing a bikini competition, I literally, like my cognitive wires like weren't even working. I could not run my business because all I was focused on was the way that I looked. And that's just not who I am. I'm probably not meant to have a 6-pack and a bubble butt, and maybe some people are, but for me to get there, I have to put in a whole lot of work and I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing today. So I'm still trying to find my balance. And right now I feel pretty happy. I work out about between 30 minutes to 1 hour a day doing PIT 28 or like weightlifting or running or something like that. Working the rest of the time, I get good hours of sleep now, around 8 hours a day. So I'm happy with that. My body has found balance with the way that I eat too. So I'm feeling good. So then when people are trying to say, oh, my body this, my body that, like, are they happy? Like, I don't know. I feel pretty happy right now. So I'm trying to care less and less about, like, what people think of the way that I look, especially because it doesn't define who I am. Yeah. So I guess the answer is, someone did say it to me once, and I still remember it. It was a big part of the way it shaped the rest of my life and probably the reason why I'm into fitness. But it wasn't a pretty scene. I think I ended up running away from the dinner table, crying and locking myself in the bathroom of this family that I didn't even really know. And my mom ran in after me, and it was like a scene.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so powerful because I would bet, oh God, am I going to bet this? I would probably bet that every female has had one moment like that in their lives.
Have you had something like that, whether it be about weight or looks or something else?
Yeah. I mean, I had like, oh, you're tearing.
Oh, I tear all the time.
So this is we've spoken about this before as well. Is you tear up a lot, and I never tear up.
Oh, I know.
So she actually tears for the both of us.
That's right. I tear for the both of us, and I tear when I'm happy and when I'm sad.
Yeah. But that was interesting because obviously it was very emotional for you to say that, right, and to acknowledge that. And I think that people hearing that is incredible, and this is why I so adore you and really was so excited about doing this podcast, because you can be super real and raw, and you don't show that side of you on your show, on the videos that you do. But this is you. This is you, really kind of being raw and open about the things that you've gone through. And it does resonate with me because, yes, absolutely, I've been judged. And I actually grew up really skinny. And I remember going through puberty and people were like, oh, haven't you got a little chubby? Now, it was only because I was skinny that all of a sudden when you start getting curves, right, it's like, I didn't, like you, it didn't even dawn on me that I was filling out.
Right.
But then Then I was dating a boy at the age of 15. He was my first boyfriend. We were dating for like 4 years. And that's a very pivotal time, I think, in a young girl's life, right? Between 15 and 19. Yeah. And so my physique changed over that time. And he wasn't a very kind guy. And so it was like, you got to be careful, and starts pinching you like your waist. And look, looking back, I wasn't heavy set at all. But do I remember it? 100%. And do I think that has acted as a part of shaping who I am at some point in my life? For sure. And so when we have spoken about it in the past and our friends, and it's so repetitive when you look at young women and how that has almost every single time happened in some way, shape or form to a young girl. How do we break that cycle? And that's what really oh my God, if we could figure that out over the course of these podcasts, how do we stop the cycle? Because if all of the young girls out there have all had one type of experience or another, whether it be, like you said, it doesn't have to be weight related. It could be physically, mentally, about, how pretty you are, your hair, your teeth, whatever.
Yeah.
If everyone has had one form of experience or other like that, how do you go from that to helping other people see positive, or other people who go online and start insulting you? There's those two different paths. How do we help shape the positivity in things with women and the way we see ourselves if we've all got a negative experience in the past?
I think we just have to talk about it. Yeah. I mean, whether you grew up skinny or fat or whatever, why is it that women have to be judged on that, whereas for men, who could care less?
Yeah.
Why does the way that we look have to almost be it's almost as if it's one of the most important things that people see when they first decide to see if you're successful or if you are capable of your job or anything. I just don't understand. I mean, I kind of get it in the sense that if I'm a fitness instructor, there's a body type that I should probably have. Well, guess what? I don't, but I'm still strong. I can still lift a bunch, do a million squats and all that kind of stuff. But the fact that every girl has to grow up, and whether it's their mom or their boyfriend or whoever telling them that they shouldn't look that way, it's just so sad, because you never hear anyone say that to a boy.
Yeah.
Why is that? I don't get it.
Can I tell you my theory?
Yeah, tell me your theory.
I'm really bad at studies, and so I've seen a lot and read a lot, but I'm not going to be exact on the study here. But through generations, back in the day, right, men would go out to hunt, bring back the food, women would stay at home, take care of their babies, and that was it. And the men would go out, and the biggest thing that their goal was to procreate. Right, because now they're passing on their genetics to multiple places, multiple people, which won't get derailed now, but that's part of the thinking of why men want to have a lot more sex than other women than women. But in order to procreate, the woman needs to be young. Right? Because fertility changes over time. So you have a harder time getting pregnant as you get older. So genetically, I really do believe that men are wired to go for younger women because they're more likely to be able to conceive, to have children. And so I think that's a big part of it. And then the same with weight. I think that it's harder, again, I can't remember the studies I've actually read, but there are studies out where the heavier the woman is, the harder it is for the woman to have a child.
Interesting.
So if that's the case, I can kind of understand why genetically men are more inclined to go for the younger, slimmer, late woman. So, yeah, I mean, that's... So I think that's why women do not judge men based on their age, because the question is, can you provide for me? Right. So as long as you're strong, it doesn't really matter if you're losing your hair. It doesn't really matter, right? As long as you're bringing back the meat.
Right.
So I guess fitness probably has something to do with that, obviously. But so the age thing doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But for men, when they're looking at women, it does. So I think that maybe that's where the judgment comes.
That makes sense. But then women judging women?
Right.
That's the problem here.
Yes.
I don't get it.
How as a community, the Sheroic Podcast, how do we explore how we can improve that? Right? That's kind of a big thing for us.
I think we got to show the strength of women beyond the looks. I mean, obviously, women can do so many different things, and I want to invite people on here that have done incredible Sheroic things, and talk about the experiences that we've had, because we're so much more than our body, which I feel like is just a capsule to take us through life, and it's going to change and deteriorate over time, but our mind is going to get stronger and smarter over time. So we just got to share that, I think.
Amazing. And that's what we plan to do
That
here.
is what we plan to do on the Sheroic Podcast.
Yeah. So we want to bring on strong women that we feel can really represent what it is to be a strong woman, right? Like, what have they gone through? What are the experiences? Because guaranteed, every single person we want to bring on here has failed. Has been some way teased, had an issue, been picked on, whether it's in the social media or as a child. And I think that it's such an incredible way to bring people on and let them tell their own stories of how they got past that. And so if we can bring people on and also extract things from our own experiences, I think that we can really make a dent.
I think so. I really think so. And I think it's going to be a really big learning experience for you and me too. And probably a healing experience as well for everyone listening.
Yeah, I think so. I really hope so. I mean, that's really the goal for us.
Yeah, and it'll be good. So when you guys are at home doing your makeup or driving to work, listening to this, I really hope that after every episode you can take away one thing that will really give you a rattle in your mind shift. We can learn something new and apply it to your day, because I don't want this to be one of those podcasts where people just ramble on and say blah, blah stuff and you don't even know what they're talking about. I want people to learn from this podcast and take away what they can and what they will from the stories.
Yeah. I mean, look, at the end of the day, this is our first episode and we're going to be exploring as we go along as well. This is in essence our day one in the gym. Right? I so want to work out. I want to be able to do a pull-up. But man, I can't even reach the handlebar, let alone pull myself up. But that's our day one.
This is our day one.
This is our day one. So we want to hear from people. Let us know, like we said, what topics you want us to address. Things like that on what do you think, what are the things that can bring you guys value.
Yeah, and if you want us to expand on any topics that we talked about today, I mean, we kind of just barely touched the surface, I felt, because I wanted you guys to get to know Lisa, and also I wanted you to kind of hear some of our backstories, but there's so much more goodness coming. Just the beginning,
baby.
Just the beginning.
That's us signing off.
Okay.
So until next time, be Sheroic.
Be Sheroic. Bye, guys.
Later.
All right, guys, if today's episode has inspired you to be fearless and bring out your inner Shero,
please, guys, rate, review, subscribe. It would mean the world to us. Shout it from the rooftops. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your dogs.
And also follow us on Be Sheroic pretty much everywhere on social media. We love you so much.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.